So it seemed like a lot of people wanted to see the campsite when I travel. So here we go. Here's the campsite. Here's the bike. A little bit higher quality now, for sure. Just using my phone this time. Got the hemisphere fairing. It's working pretty good. We changed these mounts right here to steel in order to stiffen it up a little bit. I'm hoping it'll stay on. Don't think anything's broken yet. I got an IRC GP1 front, and then we had a mix-up at the tire shop, so they decided to do a GP110 rear, and it slips a little bit on gravel. It's a bit bigger than the previous tire I had, but it's not that bad on gravel or dirt. Just slips a little bit. And I'm hoping with all the big lugs in the middle, it'll last a long time. So what I might end up doing is taking this off, doing the Colorado BDR with a different tire, with another one of the GP1s, and then putting this back on after we're back. Then I got a Rotopax for fuel because I'm running the stock tank again. And that's just because I don't like the big tank so much, and I don't have steel mounts for that yet. Got panniers and the Happy Trails SL rack. I got a Friday's the Bomb little adjuster for the pilot screw. Janus headlight. This is my tent. And these fit in the, what my brother calls the inflatable raft. And it's a giant loop. It's a pretty good bag. It keeps all the weight high and tight, so really you could run pretty much just with this, and it'd be totally fine. It'd carry pretty much everything I need, but like my light stuff like tennis shoes and whatnot go in there. I carry extra oil in the other side. And I haven't shown my boots yet. They're the Forma Terra boots. And they're pretty good. I like adventure boots. I don't think I'll ever buy a set of motocross boots. Just because they're way too stiff. They just, it's too much. But I also have these Leat knee braces here, and they are pretty fantastic. I would not be afraid. I mean, of course no one wants to crash, but I would not be afraid to go down in those. They actually help stiffen up the boots too. Our fire pit is too big, so we burned up all the dead wood in the area pretty quick. Somebody made a table for us before we came, and then we had food with us. A cooktop ramen, pretty much. That was it. And I'm surprised how well the phone's doing. It's getting really dark. It's probably like 8:30 right now. I'm trying to be steady. But here's the water. Right down next to this little creek. I think this would classify as a river. There's some giant trees here. It's a pretty cool spot. It's a big old hole right there. But this, I believe, so we're in an area where there's currently a campground and a lake. So I believe that this used to be a campsite, like a campground. And because this area is actually paved. And right there on that tree, you can see that it says number 34. So unless somebody else can tell me what that is, I'm going to assume that it's a little campsite marker. And it's kind of muddy. And then Here's our spot. And we noticed something interesting, like right when we got here. If anybody knows the American Family Insurance slogan song, the birds sound just like that. All the birds make the same. They make the American Family Insurance jingle. And then there's a trail, and that's interestingly paved, so the campsite used to probably be back in there. There used to be another one. So, yeah, that's what we're going to assume it is. But this is pretty much us camping. So we got just the two of us. And this is pretty much what we go with. He bought a tent that matches his motorcycle. Kawasaki Versus. And he did this mod today. We put the racks on yesterday, and now he's got a set of these ammo cans, which is a cheap way to carry stuff. A lot cheaper than the alternative, which is buying the racks from GV, and GV stuff is really expensive. So this is kind of a budget bike. I mean, they're both budget bikes, they're not KTMs, so you don't want to make it not worth it by making it way too expensive. So he's got new foot pegs. The only thing you need now is brush guards. I think it was worth it. Anyway, hopefully I will remember to turn the camera on tomorrow, and we'll see where we make it. Are headed into town. It's gonna take a little while to get there. A bit early. The weather was absolutely great. Last night and this morning the weather has been fantastic. I keep the visor up. It's still really rather cool and humid. So yeah, I don't know if this road keeps going. Never been in this spot before. It's been great so far. Good weather. Surprising that it was so warm last night. We are up pretty high, and I was expecting it to be very cold, but it ended up only probably being about 45 degrees. And I have a 20-degree bag, so I was comfortable. It wasn't too hot. I did have to close the door. I left my rain fly open on the tent last night. I had to close that. Hope that didn't knock you guys silly up there. Back tire's slipping around just a little bit. It is worse than I thought, this tire. I switched from a GP1 to a GP110, and it's not the best tire I've ever run on this bike. For off-road, I would say the D606 was awesome till it hit about 50%, then it was worthless. The GP1, that I was running for a while was pretty good. Even up until it was completely, bald, worn out. That tire was really good. This one seems to slide around a lot on gravel. It's more stable on the road than the GP1, but the GP1 was very good on the road too. Wasn't quite as stable, couldn't trust it quite as much, but it was still pretty good. Thinking I might have to go to a richer main jet, or not main, pilot jet. Just my exhaust keeps popping, especially when it's cold. Oh, what the frick? Alright, now I gotta be a little more careful here to make sure that we get out on the right spot, because I must have missed the turn. About a half mile back, maybe? Turn somewhere, unless that was blocked off too. There's a very good chance they may have blocked off everything up this area. I was wondering why this road seemed so dilapidated, like unused. It just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense. And people who talk about the environment, basically, I've always wanted to stay sort of away from criticizing other people for what they like to do. But seriously, screw you. Because it seems like everybody in Western Oregon is only concerned with the environment. I've seen a lot of it on forums and stuff about Arizona and Utah, that people are just all about protecting the environment. Shutting down roads is their primary goal. And I totally understand. You can't get garbage in to dump it, because there's a dumping problem pretty much everywhere. You can't get the garbage in to dump it if you don't have your vehicle can't get in there. But it's just an extremely stupid rationale, because what's the point of having any forest or nature or anything if we can't use it? That was the road right there, so we got to go all the way back. It's right there. It's so stupid. That's maybe a quarter of a mile down that, and it's back to the main road. What a waste. What a waste of. Think about this. We want to talk about environment, right? So someone builds a bulldozer. That takes a ridiculous amount of water, right? Someone builds a road with that bulldozer, right? Huge amount of water to create the fuel, water to feed the guy working on it. Just the impact on fresh water to build a road is ridiculous. Now let's close that road, negating all of the work that someone put in for that. You want to talk about the environment? Yeah. The community of motorcyclists isn't having its voice heard at all, or we would still have places to ride, So we would still be able to ride on these 2-track in the middle of nowhere woods. And if you go to the end of this road, you'd think there'd be a bunch of garbage up there, right? Because this road is miles long, right? No, there's nothing up here. There's currently been cars. The moss isn't growing in the middle of the track, and it's hard packed down, which means there are vehicles going up here relatively frequently. But it's just crazy, that even if there's people going up here, they're not dumping trash, they're just camping, they're just having a good time. Oh, because one person makes a mistake. No, dude, sorry. It's your responsibility to come up here and look for the people making mistakes. Don't make me pay for it. If you want to station a cop up here and have him watch for people dumping garbage, or you want to pay for the trail cams, great. And I'll do my due diligence and report them if I ever see one up here. But it's just really stupid that people think that I have to pay, or rather everyone else has to pay. Probably cut all this out. Probably cut all this out. And the bridge, perfectly good condition. Ugh. you just know that they're going to close it all down. It's just, it's so hard to live with, so hard to think about. So here we are, back on pavement. This is just showing you, hopefully I can use this to document what Kate Brown and what all these people think of motorcyclists and of people who want to get out and really recreate and not be completely cordoned off to one lake or one trail. They're reserving you to one area. Here is a motorcycle reserve, a motorcycle heaven or Mecca or whatever, and they're going to give you that one last spot where you can ride. So in Western Oregon, it's Ledee Flat and out in the Cascade Range. Those are the only places in the entirety of Western Oregon, and they're tiny little spots of OHV with lots of gravel, and that's it. There's no like fun, off the beaten path, unexplored or not explored for a long time roads that you can be on. Not anymore. So that's what they want to do, is just get everybody cordoned off in one spot, so then they can tell you to leave that one spot that you say, oh hey, that was my spot. That's where I get to be. Nope. Eventually it's just going to turn into it's everybody's place, but you can't go there because you don't want to do what everybody else is doing. But anyway, let's try and enjoy the day and change topic a little bit, because it's really it's easy to get infatuated with presenting an argument and not realize that really nobody cares. So I think instead, while we're on this kind of low speed, and the sun's in my eyes, it's the main problem with making these corners, let's talk about something I've tried to record a bunch of times, but it's always been an audio problem. XR650L versus CRF450L. I've never ridden a CRF450L, so let that be my disclaimer. But I have ridden a bike that people say is better, quote unquote, specifically if you have orange in your blood. And that bike being the KTM 500 EXC. So I've ridden one of those, and it has issues in my opinion that I don't like. I'd rather ride one of these. If I had to have one bike, I'd much rather it be one of these than one of those. Okay, so I can't jump 30 feet. Who cares? So anyway, I've ridden what people call a better bike, and I can give you some of my takeaways from riding that, and then maybe try to apply them to a CRF 450L. The CRF 450L is, to me, not a replacement for the XR. It just isn't. I'm carrying a bunch of luggage on the XR650 right now, and the CRF to me wouldn't be able to carry that amount of luggage. And then even if it could, the other problem with it is like you'd have to constantly be in the power band, because it makes more horsepower than the 650, but it definitely doesn't make more torque. 650 is, just displacement-wise, a much bigger bike. So the CRF does not make more torque. The horsepower being so much on that bike for the displacement, we're talking it makes 10 more horsepower than the 650. And that's kind of mind-boggling when you think about it. It gets the same or a little worse fuel economy maybe if you're running it wide open. This is a really cool view. More horsepower, less torque, weird, odd power delivery, and because that horsepower, I guess has really bad maintenance intervals, And you have to think about too, like they say that you have to replace the crank at 19,000 miles. That to me is like ridiculous, because I've got 18,000 on this XR, and they say, oh, it's only if you're riding it super slow, or only if you're riding it super hard. It's basically if it's a motocross bike. Well, maybe I don't ride it like a motocross bike, but I might ride it half as hard, you know? So that means that, okay, I'll only get 30-something thousand miles out of the bottom end. That's, you know, not a lot. These XRs have been known, with the right modifications, to go to 100,000 on a bottom end. But if you have to, if it's in the maintenance schedule to replace the bottom end, the crank at 19,000, that means splitting the cases. That means either you're done with the bike at 19,000 miles, which means resale value is going to be horrible, or you're going to be hanging an arm and a leg at the shop to get it done. Like they'll probably tell you just what they told me with this bike when I fried the top end. They'll say, nope, we're done, we're not touching it. So it's definitely not the bike for me. And then like highway on it, I've got this thing now pretty much to where I would do a pretty good amount of highway on it. I don't like highway still, and riding with the sun in my eyes right now, which we wouldn't be doing if we were down in the woods, but it's kind of annoying. But like being on a CRF 450, it'd be somehow even less comfortable than on this bike. We're going up to Odell. You want to lead?
I don't know where it is.
You'll see signs for it. It's right there. We just follow this road all the way in.